You think it's a camp, but it's a prison. You guys think like we're free here. We don't have any rights here.
A few stones were thrown at the car.
It's called Al Hol, a camp that sprung from nowhere, now the size of a small town. It's a place in limbo, like no other refugee camp on earth, shunned by the international community.
We're just driving through the camp right now. It's divided into different sections. It's quite tense these days. Some sections are more problematic than others. That is the Syrian section, or one of them, and its inhabitants are the people who stayed until the very, very end.
To step into this camp is to witness a strange mutation of the caliphate, kept alive by the widows and wives of ISIS.
It really is as if we've just entered into the caliphate. This is the main market, and we have quite a fair bit of security with us here because they've had a couple of stabbing incidents here where women have stabbed individuals within the security forces.
But it's the anger, the seething hostility that strikes you. The more radicalized women threaten and terrorize those less devoted to ISIS. One woman says her tent was burnt down. Another, that she's so afraid of being stabbed, she barely sleeps at night.
عم نعاني صعوبة مثلا من هالشغلات بس بقدر بإمكانياتنا القليلة المتواجدة هون.
Kurdish forces say this place is a ticking time bomb, an ISIS academy where its brutal ideology is incubating. They don't have the resources to keep control.
في خلايا هون، في تنظيمات هون، في لسه ما تنظفت العقلية، الفكر تبعهم ما تنظف.
Hatred and enmity is magnified by the wretched conditions.
She's complaining about the conditions of the camp. And she's telling us, just come and try one night here.
The living conditions are horrendous. It's filthy. There's little access to medical care. Clean water is scarce. Food is rationed.
Khadija here, she's telling me to enter the camp and show me the conditions inside the tent. Very hot inside the tent. Basic things, some clothes and a toy on the floor. In the back here, very basic conditions and supplies. He's upset that the camp is full of ISIS. Hold on, a few stones were thrown at the car while we were heading out from section 5 of the camp.
We've just walked into the foreigners' side of the camp, and it's strange. It's like being at the United Nations. There are all sorts of countries here. Look at these two little girls. If you just focus in on them, they could be anywhere in the world.
So everybody has a little bit of their food culture being sold here in the foreigners section of Al Hol.
Beneath the black uniformity, some women want nothing more than to leave.
Someone wants to talk to us. Well, me. مع مين بدهم يحكوا بس أنا؟ I mean, come from far. السلام عليكم. أنا أروى.
وأنا فراس. يعني اللي بده يطلع خليه يطلع. يعني خلي اللي بده يستأجر يطلع خليه يطلع. واللي بده يضل هون خليه يضل هون.
If they gave you an option, let's say, of creating another caliphate for you.
No.
No. You're done.
A lot of women, they think the same.
Yeah, you're trying to organize yourself to ask for your rights.
We don't have any rights here. We don't have any rights here.
Where are you from? Britain. So what do you want? Huh? You want to go home?
No.
Or what do you want?
Because they're going to put me in prison there. They took our citizenship anyways off. So where should we go?
Where would you go?
I don't know. Go to Turkey.
Are you scared from us?
Should I be?
I'm just asking. A lot of people, that's why they're talking in our countries, because they're scared to take us back.
Everyone wants to know when they can go back home, what's going to happen, and that's been one of the toughest things they say, is not having these answers.
But there is no reintegration program. This is an open-air prison.
Do you want me to open it?
Yeah,
Outside the camp, we get access to a prison, a surreal scene. Former ISIS fighters painting and crafting papier-mâché models.
It was not exactly the kind of artwork I was expecting to see in a prison that houses hardcore ISIS fighters, but this is all part of the process of getting them to change their mentality.
This man says ISIS held his family hostage to coerce him to join. ISIS gave me the bombs, he tells us, and then showed me on WhatsApp how to plant them. He's serving 20 years, the maximum sentence. Others accept their fate.
أنا ليش أريد أخاف؟ خلاص أنا أجي هون آكل حقي معلش رضيان.
What do you want?
In this rehabilitation center, there are scores of teenage boys.
This is a rehabilitation center facility for the children and teenagers who were picked up in different areas where ISIS was after military fights. So tell us about Khalid.
I mean, he's from Tajikistan. His father was killed, his mother was killed. He has nobody, he has no family. He's ended up here. He doesn't know how to get in touch with his family back in Tajikistan. What is he going to do? What are they going to do? I mean, no one knows. There's no solution for it.
This 15-year-old was an ISIS fighter. His first mission? To plant explosives at a U.S. base. He describes how they were given the bombs, weapons, and suicide vests. We covered everything with the women's black niqab, he says, so the jets in the sky would not target us. The operation failed and he ended up in prison. But even there, ISIS ruled, he says. But at the rehab center, things are different. If the situation stays like this and nations don't help, ISIS will come back. Musab Khalaf, an administrator here, tells us. We hear about it, the sleeper cells. They take advantage of the children trying to recruit them.
We've been talking to a couple of the kids here, and I mean, the stories they have are just, it's the stuff of nightmares. It's stuff that no one should ever have to go through. But what's interesting is how they say that once they're able to get out of the ISIS mentality, when they're able to get away from it, that is when they're able to begin to move away from it. And that's why these types of programs, you're being told, are so important.
But the center barely reaches a fraction of the children indoctrinated. There just aren't enough resources. Children pay the price for the sins of their parents, but in turn are preyed upon.
We're just on our way out, and it's really been a bit surreal at times. The Kurdish forces here are in something of an impossible situation, and there is what can only be described as a startling lack of urgency when it comes to an international response. The situation is untenable and it's unsustainable. The longer these families stay in Al Hol camp, the harder it is going to be to try to even begin to reintegrate them into society.
Ashik Ali is a motorcycle mechanic in Pakistan. He works in an area where owning a car or motorcycle is out of reach for some residents. But Ashik found a way that he could help. For the last 10 years, he's been giving rides on the back of his motorcycle to anyone who needs one, for free.
मैंने आज तक तो किसी से 1 रुपया भी नहीं लिया है वैसे। मैं बोलता हूँ कि नहीं, ये नेक काम मुझे जब तक अल्लाह ने तौफीक दी है और मुझे करने दो। कोई भी माना रोड पे जो जैसे पैदल चल रहा है शख्स, माना वो परेशान है, अगर वो कोई खड़ा भी है माना किसी इंतज़ार में, जैसे सवारी के नहीं है, रात में कन्वेंस नहीं है उसके पास, तो उसको मैं फ़ौरन मना बिठा लेता हूँ कि आप आ जाओ, मैं आपको छोड़ देता हूँ। एक तो ये कि मना दिली खुशी बहुत होती है, मैं किसी की मना हम किसी के काम आ रहे हैं, किसी की हेल्प कर रहे हैं, अगर वो हमें दुआएं भी दे रहा है, और दिली खुशी और रूहानी सुकून बहुत मिलता है हमें, दिली सुकून बहुत मिलता है, इसलिए जो है हमने ये कंट्री।
But at first, people were skeptical. To gain their trust, Ashik's best friend Zafar gave him the idea to play recordings of the Quran from his bike. Now, the two friends ride together, picking up passengers wherever they go.
ये बचपन में ये स्कूल पढ़ता था, ये तो ऊपर मना जैसे इसका रिहाइश थी, तो वहाँ पर जो है सीढ़ियों से ये गिर गया। उसके बाद इसकी मना आंखों की रोशनी स्लो 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 ये नहीं ख़त्म हो, क्योंकि जिसको मैं लेकर जा रहा हूँ वो तो वहाँ उतर जाएगा, वापसी तो मुझे आना है वहाँ से, तो इस वजह से जो है मैं इसको अपने साथ रखता हूँ कि माना एक से दो भला। लेकिन अल्लाह पाक ने मज़ीद मुझे और मना इस काबिल बना दिया, तो इंशाल्लाह मैं और बेहतर करूँगा, और बढ़ाऊँगा इस काम को, टाइमिंग बढ़ाऊँगा मैं जैसे।